But it is upsetting to see what's happening right now. We set this up weeks in advance. We already got confirmation for this. Then on Friday, we get an email saying, oh, you know what? We're canceling your event because you guys have so many rooms booked in the past, however many like weeks, right? You know, that got us really upset. But you say, okay, you know what?
For sure.
We'll fight this later. We got to make sure this event goes on.
Right.
We're going to do everything that we can to ensure the fact that we have this event and that we're able to secure a venue. So we actually went through a different RSO group to book the same venue to get it secured. And then we received an email just like an hour ago saying, oh, you know what? Sorry, you guys try to book it within 3 days, so you can't do it. But they let us know within 3 days. It's absolute, complete, utter bullshit. They trapped us. First, they cancel it way too late. They don't give us enough days to rebook it. And then when we try to rebook it, they say, nope, not enough days.
So what are they afraid of?
Free speech. They're afraid of students thinking for themselves.
They're afraid of me listening to people.
And responding.
Students
no, absolutely.
The administration calling out this culture that we're all aware of on campuses. And I don't know, maybe I'm just an optimist, but my optimistic view on it is just like, if you think about it, the optics of trying to shut down a free speech event is just so bad that I think all this is just an intimidation tactic. I don't think they're actually going to be able to go through on trying to prevent the event from happening.
Yeah. All right, cool, excellent. Very excited about this. Thank you. Very, very, very
excited. Thank you so much.
Very excited.
Thank you.
What brought you to this event today?
I care a lot about what other people say about social justice issues, so it'll be interesting to watch. That's what attracted me.
I just wanted to check out some good free speech discussions and kind of develop my ideas and see what other people think.
I was out in front of Sproul and saw the event. Usually I never stop by to like look at the events, but I decided just to stop by because I feel like I'm never on campus. So I wanted to see what was going on, and then I kind of liked it. So
honestly, over my time here at Berkeley, I feel like there's been lots of divides within people, lots of contentious issues coming up. And I feel like a lot of this can be resolved through just friendly conversation and kind of understanding people's perspectives. And so I'm hoping to see some divides bridged and people to see that we're not that different.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Berkeley College Republicans, and we helped organize this event. And so I thought, Peter Boghossian was here, so I thought it would be an honor to meet him and listen to him speak, as well as do this reverse Q&A, kind of experience this kind of new format. I've never heard of the reverse Q&A format before, so it's pretty interesting and kind of exciting to see what it's about and, how we can use this to kind of bridge the gap between people and have meaningful conversations, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, I was on Reddit like an hour ago, and I saw someone post a picture about how the doctor was in Sproul. I read the question. The question was pretty interesting, and so I checked him out like on YouTube, and I was like, I'll just go.
Awesome, you found it on Reddit. That's great. Okay, cool.
I've heard him in podcasts, and someone posted it on Reddit that he was on campus.
I saw the flyer on Sproul because I participated in the reverse questionnaire about I think discrimination, so I found out through that. Yeah.
Cool. We're basically doing that again. Okay. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting some people to get angry, a lot of people to be surprised in how much they agree, and hopefully some good discussion.
Hopefully civil debate. Berkeley is the free speech campus and everything else, so hopefully that stays true.
I want to see the different opinions people have because I know how I see Berkeley is very liberal up here, and I've never heard anybody come out as like a Republican or conservative or anything because I feel like people are afraid to show their opinions. So I want to see if there's anybody else out there that's like ready to show their different side of views in politics.
I'm expecting a pretty peaceful, respectful conversation. I mean, throughout the day when Peter was on campus talking to students, it seemed like people were pretty open to have disagreement and dialogue, so I'm hoping to see that here just on a larger scale.
Yeah, so I'm expecting much of the same, maybe more detailed, honest conversations than probably what we had outside. Obviously, because it's a public showing outside versus this is a more private event, people are going to most likely open up a little bit more, go into more detail, describe more in detail what they're experiencing, what their professors are talking about, how they're handling daily life at the campus, and just how they navigate daily issues and talk to other people about them. So
hopefully like open dialogue on like what is supposed to be like controversial topics.
I don't think like opposing views will show up, so
What are you hoping for?
I guess the same thing I was expecting. That's why I'm here, because I hope that all that stuff's going to happen.
I'm hoping to see just like a general consensus of what the campus thinks about social justice issues, how strongly do they feel about them and everything else.
I know, but a lot of liberals try to like change my views. I'm independent, but I want to see if I can push to try to agree to their side more. I want to see like what am I missing now that they think is wrong, that I'm saying that is wrong. I want to hear like facts. Like I want to know what can push me to at least to move a step onto the agreeing side of the liberals. Like I'm an individual, so like I don't know what to actually agree with at this point. So I want somebody to I want to push that way. I want to see how it feels, because I could be both conservative and liberal, but I cannot be fully just a liberal, if that makes sense. I want to see other people's opinions on it.
You want to seek to see how open-minded you might be about certain things.
For sure, 100%. And I want to see like if people will get upset at different views. I mean, I personally don't ever get upset at other people's opinions, but I want to see if there could be people that could relax and just like listen to other people without having to interrupt. I want to see that, because all I saw was before it was just like people like, no, that's wrong. I want to see if people could listen, like negotiate on something, or like just open-minded. See more opinions. That's me.
I'm hoping for people to kind of realize that a lot of the framing we see, whether it's in the media, in newspapers, etc., about this kind of stark difference between left and right, where you've got these framings of things like, racist versus anti-racist, things like that, where people feel like there's only one side that's acceptable and kind of too afraid to deviate from that. I want to kind of help people see that the framing is a little bit more open to that, where we all have kind of the same values, we all have the same objectives in mind. We might have slight disagreements on how we get there, but just because someone doesn't entirely agree with you on every step of the way doesn't mean that they disagree with your entire premise to begin with. So I'm hoping for kind of people to just open their eyes and see that we can bridge these divides. We can all have common goals and work together in a democratic way without having to shut down anyone who disagrees with you.
Wow, wonderful. That was a great answer.
Just to learn something new. Yeah.
Hoping for people to listen to both sides. Everyone has different opinions, and they're always like really like extreme opinions. People are either really left-sided and people are really right-sided. I hope people can come to like a good medium and understand that like our opinions are valid, and like we all can have different opinions, and we don't have to put each other down.
Do you feel free to express your opinion about controversial subjects in the classroom?
I think I've always been bold enough to do it, or hopefully sometimes maybe keep it quieter than I should.
It's not the common consensus in Berkeley to do so, but I do. I mean, I don't really care, but...
Oh my gosh, that's so hard for me. That's actually really hard for me, because I don't want people to like judge me. So I never speak about my own, like my options or my opinions in anything, because I'm afraid that people are gonna like this girl's wrong, or like they're gonna like I have friends I don't even talk politics about or anything controversial, because like what if they're my last of my friends, and I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna be your friend because of that political. That's why I wanted to talk over there, but I couldn't, because I had a friend with me, and I just didn't want them to think like I had a different view, because I do have a different view. So like I was like, no, I'm gonna just be quiet. But maybe if I have the confidence to go and talk, I probably will.
I feel like there's kind of an unwritten rule where there are certain issues that you're just not allowed to talk about. Professors or other students might say an opinion. If you disagree, I often find myself just staying quiet. I've been in times when I'm not even in the classroom, just at a friend's apartment, maybe there's 5 or 6 of us hanging out. And when one of these topics come up, I'm just like on my phone, I'll just scroll through Twitter, pretend I'm not paying attention, because I know what my opinion is. I know I'm pretty committed to my beliefs, but it's not worth just having that disagreement, not worth them maybe thinking poorly of me. So sometimes you just gotta stay quiet.
For me, I've always been very open about my beliefs. Like whatever, if someone asks me, what do you believe on this issue, I'll just open myself up and tell them, this is what I believe.
Not in some classes, but not all. In some classes, yes. Some classes, definitely no.
What do you think is the biggest reason?
It's kind of a group think.
Is it more like social pressure, or is it pressure from like faculty or teachers at all?
It's kind of social pressure. And from teachers too, you worry like, will this like, harm my grade?
Here at Berkeley, that's a good question, because last semester I had a history class, which I wasn't able to express my opinions well. I had to basically act as a different person, because I was scared of like my GSI like bumping down my grade because of that, my peers looking at me a different way. Like I made one small comment, and from that I got such bad stares. So I was like, never again. I'm not talking, not participating, just doing the bare minimum just to like participate in class for participation points.
So you just want that one question, Peter?
Well, just whatever he wants to talk. He has a lot of cool stuff to say, so whatever he wants to talk about.
Okay, maybe you can just introduce. Well, who are you?
Bijan.
Bijan?
Bijan Yashar, yeah. A former grad student at UC Berkeley. I came here in 97, so I was a grad student. And then, so I've seen changes, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. When do you think the changes started to happen?
2015, 2016, suddenly it's like a different campus, right? It was suddenly literally, the campus being burnt down just because some conservative speaker was going to come to town and speak. And so me as a, lifelong liberal, believe in free speech, I was just astounded that, the home of this free speech movement became super hostile place to anyone wanting to speak their mind, that didn't toe the line, right?
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
I'm just here to support Peter, and I'm glad he's here in town. And I really, again, as someone who identifies on the left as a liberal, and I'm wholeheartedly in support of what Peter's doing and trying to, facilitate a conversation. And this nonsense about you don't get to speak because I don't like what you say. It's not cool. So.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the reverse Q&A. We're going to be focusing a little bit on things like social justice, identity politics, and free speech tonight. My name is Sina, and I am a junior at the Haas School of Business here in Berkeley. And without further ado, please welcome Professor Peter Boghossian.
Welcome. Can you hear me? Great. This is a nice, chill crowd. We can have a great conversation. So it may come as no surprise if you look at any of the, you're here today. Hi. Good to see you again. Any of the literature from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education that, depending on how it's parsed out, what area of the country and what major people are in, they feel that they can't speak openly and honestly about questions, particularly around questions around race, gender, identity politics, etc. So tonight I'm going to offer some tools for how to do that. And we're going to transition from those tools, and I'll explain this, why there are lines of tape on the floor in a minute, and we'll have a brief panel discussion. I want everyone here tonight to leave with very practical things that they can use to speak across divides, particularly when there's a gulf. And then I want to have a conversation with our sponsors tonight, the College Republicans, about why that matters and what issues you feel you can or cannot speak about in the classroom or on campus or with your friends. And I'm going to ask you for solutions to it. Okay, so everybody's going to start off in the neutral position. And you did this today. There's no gotcha questions, right? There's no the goal isn't to humiliate people, it's to teach them a skill that they can use in their lives. Questions before we rock and roll? You'll see it instantly. It's very, very easy to do. Okay. 3 or 4 volunteers. Not everybody at once, though. Oh, you want to volunteer? You're perfect. Yeah, come on up. Yay! Thank you. This is wonderful. Okay, we have 1 volunteer. So come on up. Don't be shy. It's perfect. Should we start off with the most controversial questions or the least? Yes? I'll ask you, you want the most controversial questions or the least controversial questions first? Oh, the most, okay. Trans women should be legally treated as women. 3, 2, 1. This is obviously very complicated. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. All right. We did the first question. Give them a round of applause. All right, you guys have graduated. We're going to come back to you at the very end. All right, who else wants to come up? Here's the question, so please don't go yet. I'm going to say the question. Please stand on the line. I'm going to repeat the question. I'm going to count down from 3. Try not to pay any attention to anybody in front or behind you. Just have some integrity for your own beliefs. The primary mission of the university should be social justice. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Oh, wow, you moved and I didn't even say anything. You're your own intervention. Wow, okay. So, sorry, I have this thing. So the primary mission. So you slightly agree. Tell us why you agree, son.
At its core, like we want society to be better for more people, and that is social justice.
To me, it seems like there are two relevant questions, right? One of which is the question that you asked, which is strongly loaded, right? Because primary, right, means, as you pointed out, to the exclusion, essentially.
Correct.
Of the thing.
Absolutely correct. That's why, yeah.
So it is a loaded question, because if you follow down that particular path, then anything else that the university might be here to do, like promote critical thinking or give context to try and understand problems, this problem included, okay, is secondary to normalizing a particular set of people who are here.
If there's a conflict between truth and social justice, on which side should the university err?
Like this is like a false dichotomy of a question. Like you're giving me two choices, but like the answer is neither.
Because of the context of the question, social justice should be an aspect of what universities touch upon and like what you learn, but it shouldn't be the primary.
Primary. That's the key word, is primary.
Yeah, that's probably what would sway me. Yeah.
Would you like to move? It's up to you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Okay, I got another one. All right. Who wants to come up? We need four people would be ideal. Come on up. Come on down, son. Come on down. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. 3, 2, 1, move. Is everybody satisfied with where they are? Okay. Why are you on this line?
I guess I'm on this line just because of the implication of the question. Like overall, I think the word discrimination seems like a nasty word, so I moved a little bit to disagree. But I'm not really sure what capacity discrimination is in this question. Like what capacity of discrimination are we referring to?
Strongly disagree. Tell us why, son.
Because, I mean, it depends on what you mean by solution, right? Because if you want the solution to be equality of opportunity, right, which is what I want.
Let me read the question again, because the only remedy.
Remedy. Okay.
Yeah, remedy.
So if you want the end state that you're getting to be equality of opportunity, then if you continue to discriminate, then the kind of like resentment or whatever, then the state that you get to is not going to be like a natural equality of opportunity state. Whereas if you, in this case, I think the original reference is racial like inequality, but then
you recognize the quotation.
Yeah, it's a Kendiism. If you remove like all the barriers and you actually make it like equal opportunity, then even if the starting position is this kind of inequality, then over time it will eventually theoretically equal out. But then you could theoretically like speed that up by discriminating, but then when do you stop discriminating? At what point, like, and then the people who you discriminate against, well, then they want it the other way, right? Then they want more discrimination to resolve their discrimination. So I think the only like long-term solution is to just remove all of this discrimination possible.
All right, thanks everybody. All right, we'll do one more lightning round. Yeah, it is fun. It's a fun way to think. All right, good. We got 4. Excellent. Okay, you know what? Rather than me give you one, give me a broad subject. Anything on your mind, broad subject? Immigration, abortion, gun control, Ukraine.
Police brutality.
Police brutality. Anything on your mind?
I like the gun control question.
Gun control? Uh-oh, I'm going to have to flip a coin or something.
I don't think I have one.
You don't have one? Yeah. Okay. Gun control. So now we got to think of a question. I want to think of a question. A couple people said that the questions were leading, and they were leading on purpose. Well, not on purpose. They were quotations from people. So, all right, why don't we do this? Anybody have ideas for a gun control question? Give me. You got one?
An armed society is a polite society.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm buying that from the professor. Has a great one. An armed society is a polite society. 3, 2, 1, go. Wow, I was not expecting that at Berkeley. Maybe because the group is self-selected, but I was not. Okay, tell me why you slightly agree in a couple sentences.
I don't really fully understand the quote, but I just don't really. I don't know. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't have anything against people having guns. So
it's a polite society. In other words, the more people who have guns, the more polite society. Everyone's like, yes, because they're afraid of getting shot.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
then do you want to move to neutral?
No, I'm okay here.
Okay. Strongly agree. Tell us why.
Yeah, I believe it's true on a couple of reasons. So, a society that trusts its citizens enough to allow them to exercise their right to owning a gun or protecting themselves in general is a society that trusts itself. So I'm more polite to someone that I trust, that I fundamentally think is a full human that is capable of controlling themselves. And on top of the obvious.
So you really agree with that?
I very much agree with it.
All right.
I mean, I would say that you'd have less scuffles, but you'd probably have more deaths. So
that's my hunch. I could be totally wrong about that, but so fewer scuffles. No, fewer scuffles. More, but when they did that, escalate quickly. Is that the idea?
More deaths, but less smaller infractions and fights.
So and I'm just thinking out loud here, is the issue with this question that if you pointed to a society that had more guns and you tried to look at their crime stats, you couldn't tease out if it were the guns or some cultural factors?
No. To say it differently, the cost of conflict is higher because there's risk of death. So you'd have probably less conflict, but potentially more death.
Oh, okay. God, all of your answers always perfectly align with you with the tape you're on. Okay. Do you move? You move? Do you move?
Standing on the wrong side. I didn't change my mind.
So you disagree? Okay.
So I think it depends on how you define polite society. But I think the counterexample is pretty obvious. You could have a fascist society and they could still be armed, but that wouldn't be a polite society. So I don't know. I just disagree. But I think if you were to better define polite society, then you could maybe move me. But it depends on what you mean.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. All right. So I want to have a talk. The College Republicans suggested a panel, which I'd love to have when you grab the chairs. And I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about a few things. So first of all, tell us a little bit about why you wanted the event here tonight.
Yeah, so I think an issue in college campuses across the country, especially a place like UC Berkeley, I think the issue is that many people, no matter what their political opinions are or whatever they think about a certain issue, they don't get the opportunity to talk about it. They don't get to rationalize what they believe in, and we don't try to change each other's minds through rational argumentation, right? If we can't start having those conversations to come up with those meaningful solutions, then I think the divide is only going to get even greater than it is right now.
All right, got it. And do you want to add on that? What were you hoping for?
Well, something I've noticed as because I'm a junior in here at Berkeley now, I've noticed that there's a large majority of people on campus that just don't know why they believe what they believe. They just kind of maybe what they've heard or what they think their friends believe maybe, but they've never walked through the rational thinking that leads them to any other conclusions or why society is the way it is.
I think what you just said really resonates with me. I'd like to repackage it slightly differently. I think John Stuart Mill in On Liberty has a really good line on it. I wish I could recite it perfectly, but it's something along the lines of someone who knows their side perfectly but knows nothing about the other side basically knows nothing about their own side. And I think we've reached kind of a juncture within this.
You're on the list to be clapped for. That's good. So that would mean you would need intellectual diversity among the faculty. Intellectual diversity among the faculty.
I think that'd be an ideal system. I don't know how likely it is we get there in the near-term future, but yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
One more thing that I want to add. So if you do have these conversations, the number one piece of advice I can give you, especially if you're younger, is to let friends be wrong. Let friends. It's okay if we're hanging out, having drinks. I can't do that tonight because I have to get up tomorrow. We're hanging out, having drinks, and you say something about I don't know, progressive taxation or the war in Ukraine, whatever it is that you say something about, it's okay that we have a disagreement. In fact, that makes for a far more interesting friendship. All right, son, you've had your hand up for you're a paragon of patience. Yes.
So do you think you could have asked the questions you asked today in a better way that would have reduced polarization?
We came up with those questions. They're a total work in progress.
Okay.
And I think it's important to change and evolve them. Yet I also think it's important that we put in quotations for people. That's why I told Leader, the project manager, to change it from social justice to the priority being racial justice, because that's the actual quotation.
How could you rephrase that one question, or
what I just said, listen to you and have you write the questions. That's why on the board when you came in, Nathan had what issues, and that's why I did the gun control one. And that's why somebody threw out right there. So people wrote down some of the things, but we started this event 15 minutes late, so we didn't have a chance to get to as many of them as possible. And I did cancel culture. The method it's called street epistemology. It basically works with anything. And if someone doesn't like the question, it's completely reasonable to say, I don't like the question. That's what reasonable people do in society. It's like saying, does your mother know you killed someone when you're 9 with your stump leg? Yes, no, or maybe. I mean, some questions just aren't yes, no, or maybes, right? So some questions are bad questions. And so if you want a better question, you should solicit people to ask, do you have something?
Do we think that there'd be less polarization or cancel culture if people had an opportunity to vote directly on some of these ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that the way we're doing things now is wrong. I know that the way we've structured our institutions with the lack of intellectual diversity and punishment for, the perfect word is heretical opinions, or people not feeling free to express themselves. I think it's more complicated because we have a cesspool of social media, and we have virtue signaling, and we have pretty insidious ideologies.
So you said, let your friends be wrong, but there's a line, right? Like, say your friend says, then isn't the argument, rather than let your friends be wrong, just expand your line, right? Or expand what you're willing to.
It depends on what your line is. That's why your epistemology should always be first. Like how you know what you think you know, as opposed to these moral intuitions we have. Yeah, hi.
Hi. So I'm actually not a student here. I'm a student at San Francisco State.
Welcome.
Thank you. In my school, I'm a math major, so I'm a STEM major. And in my school, they're starting to bring in social justice into STEM. And I've talked to the school and with my department, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you bringing in something that has to do with social justice that has nothing to do with STEM? And the excuse that they bring to me is because of minorities, poor minorities. I'm a minority, I'm Hispanic, and I am a woman. So they see that and they look at me as as the victim. And I'm like, I'm not a victim, and I don't need you to feel sorry for me. We don't need social justice. And they keep saying, oh, yes, we do, because we're a social justice school. That is what we do. And if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. You can leave. My concentration is in teaching. An advisor, told me this. I told her, I'm not a bad person. I actually care about the education system and making sure that minority students actually get into STEM. That's my mission and my purpose. And I'm like, I'm not a bad person. You know what she told me? She told me this. Oh, we don't know that yet. She told me this not once, 2 times. 2 times in different occasions. You know something? We don't need social justice at all. Because it's coming into no.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right. Well, I happen to agree with you, but I mean, that's why I think truth is the North Star of the institution.
Correct.
And I mean, we're over time. Let's give this gentleman, Professor Steve, the last word over here.
So I think well done, Peter. 2 quick observations. I mean, there's a lot here. The last lady talked about ideology. These relate on the whole question of cancel culture. The problem is not faculty, I don't think. I mean, I have lots of complaints, but it's administrators and all these offices who are looking for trouble And so they have to find it, and so they make it up.
Right. Their
So this is an
offices in
easily
search of
solved
tasks.
problem.
We're over time. I'm so sorry. We've already run over by a few minutes, but all right, everybody, have a good night, and thank you for coming. I hope you had fun. Hope everybody had fun tonight. Learned something. Thank you. Putting on the event, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. First question, did you have fun?
I did. It was fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so rare on a college campus nowadays to actually have serious disagreement and real argument and people talking to each other with different points of view and not fighting and yelling and screaming.
Yeah, that was nice and refreshing.
I did. I thought it was a really valuable conversation that everyone was having. I thought it was enjoyable to watch.
I did. I got to listen to many meaningful conversations and got to see people, rationalize their arguments and, change some minds too as well. So that was really fun to see.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
It was interesting. So I didn't know what the format was going to be. So it's interesting to see have all these lines where you had to agree and then disagree. And then then they used your reasons for why you thought what you did to try to convince the other people. I came a bit late, but I didn't see anyone actually move. So I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if earlier people did move, but I just thought it was funny that most people were pretty set in what they thought. So I thought that was interesting.
I like the format. I think this idea of having people spontaneously stake out their positions and then engage each other it's novel. Hardly anyone ever does it. It's almost Socratic. I'm not surprised, coming from Peter, a philosopher, that it's a revival of a very ancient form of dialogue that is a lost art, and he's good at it.
I think it was really great. It was well organized, and I think it gave a lot of people to have a space to voice their opinions and defend them, and I thought it was really great to watch, and I'm kind of sad I didn't volunteer to speak, but it was really great to watch.
Yeah, I think it was a great opportunity for people to meet each other. They're complete strangers. They got to talk to each other on key issues and kind of just see where people line up and, kind of understand where they're coming from, right?
Were you surprised by anything that you heard tonight?
Oh, actually, no, there was one girl who moved slightly from disagree to strongly disagree. So
I saw that too.
But then her reasoning was very different from what my reasoning was. So it was interesting to see her move. So that was one thing that surprised me. Yeah.
I don't think I was surprised. I think several things that some of the participants said reinforced some of my prior conceptions about how people approach some of these questions. You could see a couple of people really didn't want to answer a question directly because it would make them choose one side or another, and they didn't want to give offense to either side. That's fairly typical, I think, of a lot of students and people in the younger generation today. And, that's a problem.
I guess I kind of expected a lot of more liberal opinions coming from Berkeley here and everything, but it was kind of refreshing to see more non-mainstream opinions being voiced and defended properly. So that was kind of unexpected, I guess.
Maybe a few stances, but that's just because I think a certain way. But yeah, other than that, it was all pretty nice.
Do you feel like you learned anything from this event?
I definitely learned some new terms. I'm not going to remember them, but when I watched back the video later, where he mentioned different way he said something like sprinkling into his lessons, and that's interesting. But
I think I came away more optimistic that it is possible to have these difficult conversations, like Peter says in his book, and make some progress with them. Because I'll bet people who watched and people who participated are going to come away, even if they didn't move from one line to another on the stage, I think they're going to think a little more about the issues involved and maybe change their minds a bit.
I learned the value in trying to see what would make other people change their mind and asking that, maybe, or what he posed, what would make you move to the left or to the right, whatever. I found that was very interesting and valuable to understanding people's points and thought processes. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always have a tough time, being a conservative and everything else, having a tough time going through the hard conversations, and I think this opened up a way for me to talk now.
Do you see anything differently now than you did before? If so, what? How has your view changed?
This will be an insight. It seems interesting that people tend to get fired up and antagonistic against things rather than try to figure out how to solve something. So I guess that would be an observation.
No, no, I don't. I guess I'm also pessimistic and then he was also pessimistic on like how exactly things like what are we going to do about this. So when you like, because that's like, at least it felt to me in the past there was a minority view, and most people were like, oh, it's going to get better. But then more people seem to, that I like follow and like look up to, seem to be like, oh yeah, things are pretty bad. And it's like, it's interesting to see more people think that, but I don't know. My opinion didn't really change, but.
I don't think so. I mean, part of the problem is I'm a professor myself, so I have, on some of the issues involved, I have my own fairly detailed thoughts. And because of the format of this is relatively brief compared to what I'm used to. So I did think the gun control question was kind of interesting. I thought I would hear more. I was surprised that so many people were sympathetic to gun ownership. And I thought we'd have more gun critics, or at least more criticisms brought up. So that may just be a slightly unrepresentative sample, though.
Yeah, the college Republicans maybe be part of that, right? Yeah.
I guess I see that maybe people have more in common than they think, and it's more, or it's a little easier to tell when you are maybe having a back and forth and like really trying to understand people's opinions instead of trying to win an argument. So
definitely, I would think the other side. I can see now that in order for them to go through the process of getting to their beliefs, they have to rationalize it, and now I have to rationalize my things as well. So that makes me think about how I think about my beliefs.
I've definitely seen a change in how we have these conversations, and I think this kind of format where you have people line up and change their positions based on what other people are talking about, that might potentially convince them or not convince them. I think that's been kind of a eye-opener in terms of how to have a meaningful conversation, how to approach any stranger that might disagree with you, and strike up a conversation, have it end in a positive way that might bring a solution on potentially as well. So it's definitely a new thing that I got to see today. I think I'm glad for it.
Do you think that you can talk in your classes about this event?
I would feel comfortable because that's me, but I don't know. I mean, I think there was a Charlie Kirk event recently, and I think that got a lot more like people talking, but also a lot more like pushback. I think I don't see why it would ever be relevant to mention this, but I would be comfortable mentioning it if it were ever relevant.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. In fact, I promoted it in my class this afternoon. I just have a small seminar, but I said, yeah, you should come to this. And I have a very small seminar, but one of my students was here at least, I saw. So, yes. And actually, I think I could see emulating Peter's method in a classroom, which is what would make you change your mind? Yeah. Who here would move a different place? I mean, I try and have classroom discussions and arguments with students. But I think now I'm going to try a couple of Peter's techniques a little more deliberately.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a really great event because it wasn't necessarily geared in one direction or the other. So it was something that anyone could really enjoy and participate in. So I think I'd be willing to talk about it.
For sure, yeah. I think people would love to have these conversations. I think many people are too scared to do it. And I think providing a venue for them would be a great opportunity for them to finally open up and, have a conversation with other people without being judged or being shut down by people that might not agree with them, right? So it's a great way to just invite more people and get them to start talking to each other.
I would hope so. And yes, I would definitely will.
Perfect. And the last question is, how can we improve?
Honestly, I think I don't have anything to really criticize. I really like the fact that he used quotes, and maybe the questions were probably radar sorts, but the quotes of modern day people is definitely helpful. I think it was good.
How can we improve?
I think it's effective. I think having people ask their own questions are like ask them what the definition of a good question is, and then have them frame their own. Because I think when you have to do something yourself, it's much harder to come up with something that suits your own criteria. So I think that might be an opportunity.
You always get better with practice and repeat performances, right? So, and this is a little bit like improv theater. You never quite know what you're going to get from the students who come up on stage. And I was impressed with Peter, and I think it's just going to get better and better if he keeps after this.
I don't really have any suggestions. I think it was really great and really well organized and everything.
I think this is something that we as a club can do, is just getting more people, as many people as possible. I think tonight was not as didn't have as many people as I thought it would, but it still was a great start to, you know, potentially bringing on this change and how we have conversations on a daily basis and how we tackle key issues that plague society today. So I think the crew did a wonderful job. I think Peter was amazing. I think we can just bring as many more people as possible next time and in the future. So I think that's a way to improve on our end for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. That was all my questions.
Appreciate it.
Indeed.